Hello, how are you doing today? Hope you are doing great. Today we are going to be looking at the topic musical instrument. Musical instrument. Why are we talking about musical instrument? Because we'll be talking about sound, alright? We talked about sound, how sounds are made, how we measure sounds, how we differentiate some noise from some sounds. Today we are going to look at some of those important instruments that produce sounds, and they are what? Musical instruments. What is a musical instrument? A musical instrument makes a sound or note when part of the instrument vibrates. Like we said, sound is produced by vibration, so there's no way a musical instrument is going to make a sound without what? Vibrating. So when a sound or a note or part of the instrument vibrates, look at this child. The black one is looking like Kimberly. The other one is looking like, is it A1? Okay. Now they are taking their music classes. Okay, and some are holding instruments, okay, which they want to sound. Do you know the name of this instrument they are holding? We'll get to learn that as we go on, okay? But you must understand that these instruments are used to produce what we call music, okay? They are used to produce what we call music. Look at this. We call this kind of setting an orchestra. An orchestra or band is made up of several instruments and individuals that produce sound in different ways. These different sounds are produced in rhythm together to form what we call music. Now in your music, they have taught you that different kind of music. They have told you about pop music, jazz music, and other kinds of music. So we want to look more on orchestra. Orchestra is a large instrument that resembles typical of classical music, which combine instruments from different families, including the bow string instruments, which include the violin, the viola, and the cello. We have the double bass as well. We also have the brass instruments, such as the horn, the trumpet, the trombone, and the tuba. It also consists of woodwinds or wind instruments, such as the flute, the oboe, the clarinet, and then the bassoon. And finally, we have percussion instruments such as the timpani, the bass drum, triangle, snare, the normal drum, cymbals, and mallet. Okay, we want to talk of percussion instruments, which are further grouped into sections, but we are not interested in that in this class. All right. Other instruments such as your piano and celestra. So we'll look at more of these as we proceed. Now, the actual number of musicians employed in a given performance may vary from 70 to over 100 musicians, depending on the work being played and the size of the venue. We are talking about orchestra, all right? If you watch the movie that is titled August Rush, you will understand what this means, and then you appreciate music as well. So let's start talking about each of all these instruments. The first one I'm going to be looking at today is called string instrument. String instruments are called the phones. That's how we call them. They include guitars and violins. They make sound when you pluck the string, causing them to vibrate. The sound depends on the length, thickness, and the lightness of the string. So it depends on how long the string is, how thick the string is, and how light the string is. A piano has strings inside it. It is these strings that vibrate to make sounds, alright? When you press a piano key, it causes an hammer inside the piano to hit a wire. There are 88 keys. Sorry, that is not 8. It's supposed to be 88 keys on a piano, and each one makes a different sound. The strings of most instruments are not made of what? Strings. Look at examples of string instruments. We have the violin. Let's talk about the violin. The violin, sometimes known as a fiddle, is a wooden string instrument in the violin family. Most violins have a hollow wooden body. It is the smallest and highest pitch instrument. What it means is that among all the families of string instruments, the violin is the smallest, and as small as it is, when its sound is note, it's very high. When you sound it, the pitch it gives is very high. All right. Violins are important instruments in a wide variety of musical genres. They are most prominent in the Western classical tradition, both in ensembles, that is in orchestral situation, from chamber music to orchestra, and as solo instruments. Violins are also important in many varieties of folk music, including country music, bluegrass music, and in jazz music. All right, those are the areas the violin find important use. Another family of the string instrument is called the viola. The viola is a string instrument that is bowed, plucked, or played with varying techniques. It is slightly larger than the violin. Are you getting it now? The viola is a bit bigger than the violin and has a lower and deeper sound. Since the 18th century, it has been the middle or alto voice of the violin family. So we are looking for the middle alto voice. You use the viola rather than the violin, okay? Which is toned in a perfect fifth above, and the cello, which is toned an octave below. All right, let's look at the cello now. The cello, also called the violoncello, string instrument of the violin family, is 4 strings, are usually tuned in perfect fifth from low to high, an octave lower than the viola. Music for the cello is generally written in the bass clef, with tenor clef and treble clef used for higher performance. All right, so this is another family of the string instrument, the cello. Now look at the double bass. The double bass, also known as bass, is the largest and lowest pitched bowed or plucked string instrument. In the modern symphonic orchestra, the bass is a standard member of the orchestra string section as well as the concert band, and is featured in concerts, solo and chamber music in Western classical music. The bass is used in a range of other genres such as the jazz in 1950s, style blues and rock and roll music. So we use the bass in the following music you've seen, and all these instruments I've discussed with you are all string instruments. They are classified as string instruments, among which the bass is the largest, and it produces the lowest or the lowest pitch we can get. All right. Also look at the violin has 4 string. Guitar is a 6-string instrument. All right. So while the violin has 4 string, the guitar has 6-string instrument. You either pluck or played with a pick, whereas violin is a 4-string instrument which is played with bow. Guitar is standard tuning, is tuned as E, B, G, D, A, and A, while violin in standard is tuned as G, D, A, and E. So you compare the guitar and the violin, but know that all of them are of the family of a string instrument. Okay, like I said in the movie August Rush, you will see a lot of music being created, or orchestral scenario where these instruments are highly used, and you appreciate a lot of these instruments. Now look at the piano keyboard. A piano keyboard has strings inside it. It is these strings that vibrate to make sounds. When you press a piano key, it causes an hammer inside the piano to hit a wire. There are 88 keys on a piano, and each one makes a different sound. The strings of most instruments are not made of strings. We said that earlier before. Now you know your piano. You have all your keys in your piano, your A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then you turn and repeat again. You know, there are ways you identify these your keys, and you do a lot of things in your musical class. Think your C key is the white key before the two black keys, and then your F key is the white before the three black keys. Those are things you need to learn about the piano. But in this class, you must know that all these are family of the string instrument. All right, they are all families of the string instrument. Let's now look at another set of, or another family of instrument called percussion instrument. When we talk of percussion instrument in a musical instrument, it's a musical instrument that is sounded by being stunk or scraped by a beater, including attached or enclosed beaters or rattle stock, scraped or rubbed by hand or stuck against another similar instrument. The percussion family is believed to include the oldest musical instrument following the human voice. The percussion section of an orchestra most commonly contains instruments such as the timpani, snare drum, bass drum, cymbals, triangles, and the tambourine. So all these instruments are instruments that you either beat into them. You know what I mean? You can see them now. Look at the timpani, look at your snare drum, look at your tambourine, look at your bass drum, your cymbal, and your triangle. All these instruments make sound by you stinging them, or should I say beating them. Okay, so we are looking at percussion instrument. I've talked about string instrument. This is one you are very familiar with. What? The drum. We're going to talk about the drum. Drums are percussion instruments. To make a sound, you bang on them to make the skin vibrate. The sound you make depends on the size and the shape of the drum. A larger drum will make a lower sound than a smaller drum. Take note. A larger drum will make a lower sound than a smaller drum, not the other way around. Okay, we'll know this as we proceed. Now let's look at the brass instrument. The brass instrument is a musical instrument that produces sound by sympathetic vibration of air in a tubular resonator in sympathy with the vibration of the player's lips. Brass instruments are also called labrosons, literally meaning lip vibrated instrument. So the ones you blow with sympathetic, there's a way you blow some instruments like this trumpet. You see people blowing them, you see the occasion they use them for. That's why the word sympathetic is there. It's quite different from the wind instrument. Take note. You blow air into them and then you control the movement to get the sound. They are called brass instruments in those days because they are made of brass. Brass is when you combine zinc and copper together. All right, you know zinc, you know copper. When you combine them together to form an object, we call it a brass instrument. Okay, we still have the trombone and the tuba. All brass instruments. Brass instruments should be defined by the way the sound is made, as rather than the way I just defined it to you, and not by whether the instrument is actually made of brass. Thus, one fine brass instrument made of wood like the amphoon, the cornet, the sampet, and the dingrendo, right? So they are trying to tell us that if we do not define brass instrument as instrument made of brass alone, which is a combination of copper and zinc, we'll find another class of instruments that follow the initial definition, blowing it sympathetically to get a kind of funny sound. All right. So this is what you need to know, that the brass instrument is another family of what? The musical instrument. Let's now look at the wind instrument. An instrument that you blow into is a wind instrument. Are you seeing it? If an instrument that you blow air into is a wind instrument, it means that a wind instrument is a musical instrument that contains some type of resonator, usually a tube, in which a column of air is set into vibration by player blowing into or over a mouthpiece set at or near the end of the resonator. If you have an instrument you are blowing into, like your tin whistle or your penny whistle, for example, you will classify it under which instrument? Brass or wind instrument? You classify it under wind instrument. Well, this definition tells us that we can have a scenario where some brass instruments will fall under the wind instrument, depending on how it is working. Examples of a wind instrument. When we look at some examples of wind instrument, you can see there we have the flute, we have the oboe, we have the clarinet. All these are instruments you blow into. Of course, you have your saxophone, which of course is looking like a brass instrument, and then you have your bassoon, and then you have the tin whistle. All these are examples of what? Wind instrument. That brings us to the end of this class. You do well to click on the next activity to carry out your tasks for this class. All right. I hope you enjoy the class. We've talked about a lot of musical instruments which are classified into just your percussion, your brass, your wind, and your string instrument. So next time when you see a musical instrument, you know where to classify it. I want you to stay safe, because I will see you in the next class.